Good evening, everyone. Gabs here. What's in the glass? Welcome. Beautiful to be here with you today, as usual. I think it's a Wednesday, 3rd March, as I said, and it's pretty interesting that we actually did so far in this new season of the Digital Beat Streams. I think something around like 18 or 19 show. And I loved it. It's so beautiful. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to speak with so many beautiful people, and that you can find interesting, whatever we're saying in here. And as I said, my name is Gabs. I've been working in the industry from 10 years. I'm usually doing this intro, so sorry if you heard it a couple of times again. And I'm trying to be the best beer communicator I can. And What's in the Glass is a digital community all around beer, all around the hospitality industry. And what we like to do is connect with other people from the drinking and the beer industries and hospitality as well, from London, rest of the UK, maybe very soon outside the UK as well. And what we are trying to achieve is to be in touch, understand what are the contemporary issues within the industry itself, try to be, try to act like we are one big organism. Actually, we are, in a way, despite the fact that it's 2021, we all feel different, we all have different priorities and stuff, but we are an industry, we are just a whole. Let's remember that. And the Digital Beat Streams is the perfect excuse, is normally like a 30-40 minutes chat with the best representation of this industry, and I'm trying to dedicate these lots that we have from Monday to Thursday to people that really have something important to say, or people that just represent, parts of the industry that we haven't explored yet, and things like that. And we've been doing many different things within What's in the Glass. Another one is Turning the Tide, which is a show about the transformation of the London drinking culture. And you're gonna see how big changes we already started to have. And I always love to visit other craft beer communities around the UK, especially because this is pretty much where you find the differences between London, the differences between other places. And that's why tonight I really wanted to wear this badge in here, which has been donated by our lovely guest for the day. And that's why also I'm going to drink this fantastic beer that, especially if you are based in the UK, you maybe not understand enough how important this brewery has been for the craft beer movement in the UK. And I really wanted to have a chance to speak with Mars from a while, especially because we share similar origins from Italy. And we were living in London in the same time, and I didn't know. And then I found out that about our origins, and the fact that we click very well together when she was already in Manchester. But this is going to give me the excuse to speak with her and to try to understand what's all about Marble Brewery and what's about Mars in all of the 7 or 8 years of experience within the industry. We will find out. So please welcome Mars.
Hey. Hi guys. Hello. Hi Gabs.
Lovely to have you here. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I've obviously already started drinking, so
makes sense.
Cheers. I know exactly. I just thought, why wait? Oh, that's a nice glass, actually.
I'm telling you, I really wanted to go for the pub glass, because I'm sure if we were in different times, I will probably find you in a good pub in London or in Manchester, right?
I can't wait for those days. I'm gonna be back. Can't wait. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh man, the nose is fantastic.
That's a good ad as well. There, look at that. It's proper pouring.
Oh, I'm telling you, like this type of marks especially is giving me like all my freedom to really go for a good pour, directing in the glass. And before actually introduce you and the brewery, tell me a bit more about Lagonda. Are we talking about a classic British pale ale?
Yeah, it's it's actually the first time it's been brewed. It was in 1997, so actually the first year of the brewery. So it's been basically in our range since the very beginning of the brewery, and it does say an understated classic. Because this beer is really lovely, it's really good today, but it's not one of the big hype boys, those big hype beers. So you can appreciate it, you know how good it is. You can have a pint, you can have two, you can have three, in can, in keg, in cask. But nobody thinks about it in terms of like, oh, it's special, But try to think in 1990s, this beer in UK in 1997. I mean, yeah, that was something special. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't
Interesting.
it?
I love the bitterness. This is something that sometimes we tend to forget, especially
Forget.
when we're speaking. Yeah. Like this is just like an explosion of very interesting, a lingering bitterness in the mouth, but then it's so soft. And 5% pale ale on 5%. I love this because it's just like perfect on the edge.
It's the perfect ABV, and again, this is something that works in cask as well, really, really nicely.
Wow.
Again, I keep on talking about cask because I keep on thinking about pubs and how much I miss it. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, apparently very soon, and we're gonna speak about this. But first, please, would you mind to introduce yourself and to introduce Marble Brewery as well, please?
So, Mars, I'm Italian, as you can probably see, understand by my accent. I moved to this country about almost 7 years ago, and I've been in London for most of it, working in pubs, and managing pubs like the Duke said, bringing to small beer in North London. And then about last August, obviously in the middle of a pandemic, I decided to move, as you do, and I moved to Marble, to Manchester. And I knew the guy. I knew the brewery for years. I've organized events when I was down the Dukes over the years with them. I met them many times. I came to Manchester many times. I just loved the beer, loved the guys, and it was a perfect fit. And I've been incredibly lucky to land this job, especially in this situation. But generally speaking, I think like I always thought, one day that's where I'm going to end up working. Marble, like I said, it's been around since 1997, and it started as a small, tiny brewery in the basement of the Marble Arch pub in Manchester. If you haven't been to the Marble Arch, you'll have to, because it's like I've been to Manchester 3 or 4 times before moving there, and I've always spent most of my stay in the Arch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see more of Manchester, obviously, one day. But yeah, you need to go and see the Marble Arch. It's like the perfect pub. Anyway, the brewery started there. Then it was moved down the road, and now we moved it a couple of years ago. It's been moved to Salford because we needed just a bigger space. And now it's about 25 hectares. Used to be 20 before, and now it's 25. And yeah, we do well. It's kind of hard to find a statement, a short statement to sort of like describe a brewery that's been around for such a long time. But yeah, the interesting thing about Marble that I don't think comes across that much down south is that we actually have a pretty extended range of beers and specials. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything, and it's all made, with heart. We don't necessarily like to. Lots of people don't like to say craft beer, because what does that mean? Everyone has their own concept. But for us, I think it's especially because of our ties with the pubs. It's about good beer for good pubs, in good pubs for good people. So
100%. And I love the fact that, as you were mentioned before, to me, the fact that the branding as well, like other than the quality of the beer itself, which is just brilliant. You can tell there's a brewery that is around from a good time, because the masterclass of these beers is insane. The branding as well is really recognizable, and the font as well, the colors. Tell me a bit more about that, if you can, please, Mars.
Yeah, if this is relatively recent, I reckon. But if you go, in fact, if you go to the arch, you see there's a shelf that goes all the way through a side of the pub, with all bottles and cans over the years. Like there's some of those bottles are like 20 years old, and you can see the evolution of the branding over the years. So it's always been I think very classic. I'm not gonna say minimalistic, but definitely it's sort of like classic, stylish. I absolutely love our core range. style. And most of all, yes, you can see the name of the beer, the brewery, the ABV, and the style without having to sort of like squint your eyes and try to try to pick
Leave
up
the
what
stage to
beers
the
have.
beer. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's all about doing really good beers, even experimental beers. Because we also have a barrel aging project, um, and like I said, we do quite a lot of different things. But it's all about it's less about the hype and more about consistency, I reckon, and more about putting your heart in what you're doing. And yeah, I think that kind of shows it. It's like this is what we are. We're not
Yeah.
pretending to be somebody else, but we actually do some really nice stuff.
And Mars, let me ask you this, because maybe a few people that follow us are familiar with the Manchester beer scene and all the fantastic breweries that are working in the same city than Marble. But would you spend a few words about the Manchester beer culture, from how much you get to know, even if it's just for a bit of time that you're there? But I'm sure you know a lot about it.
Yeah, it's been quite hard because obviously I moved here in August, and actually Manchester even it's been even more in lockdown compared to the rest of the country, because basically when I moved here in August we got into another lockdown here straight away, so it's been quite challenging. um, I managed to go to a few pubs, but most of all I managed to meet a group of regulars while we were still open, and they basically so like adopted me. And now basically I'm joined. We have this big Friday, every Friday we have a Zoom meeting where we basically it starts at 8 and sometimes it ends at 4 a.m. Which like the day after you got, whoa, why am I still alive? But these people have been, to all the best pubs for their whole life in Manchester. Some of them organize festivals in Manchester, in Salford. Have the chance already to do a couple of events with them. So even if I haven't had probably the chance to go into pubs that much here, actually joined the community already quite strongly, and they
Yeah.
are absolutely lovely. I think that I love London and will always love London, but I love the fact that the way I've been welcomed here, even especially in these kind of situations, it's so open, um, and it is quite different. Obviously, it's actually quite different the culture a bit, and I find myself sort of like, oh, I wish I could find a way to combine what is the southern beer, London beer culture and the northern one in an easy way. Like, so when you've got so many ideas, you go, I don't know how to do it, but that would be amazing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that when we're gonna be able to have our culture fully back with pubs and all, link it with it, that would be an interesting project. And even just thinking about how the beer is served, I remember the big hat that I was capable to find in the pubs when I was drinking Cask Up North. Maybe do not many people understand that even the same type of product could be served very differently from different parts of the UK, right?
Oh yeah, there's always been. Well, first of all, I always had when you get the guy, especially when cars go, can you top it up? That's the worst thing that a bartender can hear. Can you top it up? And so that's that, and that's actually kind of happens everywhere at the end of the day. But yeah, I think like having a good head, especially on cask, is so important. Like if I see
Yeah.
someone on my bar staff that not pouring without a head, I would like, sorry, I chuck the pint away. Don't want to be nasty. I'm gonna just chuck the pint away, and I show you how to pull it again, because I'd rather chuck it than serve a flat pint. But obviously there's the sparkle. Yeah, I was want that. Yeah, okay, sparklers. Sparklers are very important. Now, I never used sparklers when I was in North London, and I don't think I ever needed it. I was very proud of the way I could serve cask, because it's not just a sparkler. Now I'm gonna say something very controversial, obviously, because talking about sparkler is incredibly controversial. But I love a pint with sparkler. But if you got a good cellar and you know how to maintain your cask beer, from delivery day to topping day to venting day to the moment of pouring and the wash glass and all. You don't need a sparkler to pour a perfect pint. Said so, I'm also happy to have sparklers here because it's a bloody perfect, beautiful whole technology.
Absolutely. I found myself enjoying to have a pint poured with a sparkler if I'm going to drink it very quick, because I feel like that even the last bits of the CO2 that you actually crashing away using the sparkler will end up to have the final bit of the beer less drinkable than if I was in London with a beer poured without the sparkler. So I understand what you mean. And I think, yes, probably I would enjoy a puree anyway without, but I mean, it's been too long. I probably had to try both of them. That's the problem.
Yeah, the
Oh, wow.
first day the pubs reopen is going to be okay. I'm just here for research. Can I have a pint with a sparkler and a pint without?
Well, and tell me more about you, Mars. Like, do you remember your first approach with beer, general beer? Was it in Italy? Was it in the UK?
I mean, like as you probably know, I mean, I suppose with the same generations, I remember like first time I've been to a bar either, it must have been 14 or 15. It's not like anyone ever asked for us for our IDs. I mean, exactly. But I feel like the first. There's a thing that makes anyone laugh here is the fact that us Italians we drink a lot of Tennent's.
Yep.
Because it's relatively cheap and for the strength. So, it gets drunk quite fast. And, in my university years, I drank a lot of Tennent's. But whenever I had money, for me, I always loved beer. Whenever I had the money, I would go, which was like the first 3 days of the month. I would go and buy Belgian beers. There was dedicated bars that had, 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, good beer in Italy was Belgian beer. I did not see the craft beer wave. I was not part of the craft beer wave that is happening now in Italy, because when I left, it was still, I didn't know anything about it. And I feel like I would have known if it was that big, because I was always into beer. Then I moved here, and I think that the first thing that made me love, it's sort of like the first peek into this universe was the first time I had cask beer, which wasn't even a nice one. I can't remember. Actually, the first nice one that I had was a pint of Amberton N1, I believe it was. I think it was at the Aces and Aids.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Definitely North London.
Yes, yeah, definitely North London. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? It's amazing. What is this? I don't know what it is, but it's amazing. And then, someone told me that's cask beer. And yes, and that was on my first year. I was working in a pub in Camden. There was not craft at all. It was just a big company pub. But I remember my manager there. Whenever I was staying covering for someone else's shift, that would happen quite often. He was very into craft beer, and he would give me one of his Beavertown cans or more Soho can. Talking about like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this now? So yeah, this was my start. I don't know. It's just I feel like your history everyone's history in this industry is made of a lot of tiny steps that you don't realize until you sort of like look back. It's like, oh, I can't believe I used to love this beer. But then again, you got to contextualize and understand.
I love the fact that you mentioned beers, which were the ones that I hear the most from people of our generation moving from somewhere else to London. Because my one at the end, I'm going to sound very banal, but then it was the Japer, Tonbridge, and it was probably one of the early form of a punk IPA. But then in the same time, that wasn't enough for me. I wanted more. So I remember then the Cloudwater becoming kind of a cult object. So everyone were like, what is going on in here? So it's always been very interesting, very interesting. And we mentioned before Marble's attitude about revitalizing historic British styles. I mean, it's an interesting one, right? Because we are probably drinking more bitters that people that have 10, 20, 25 years more than us, right? Why is that
Yeah,
your opinion?
it's yes. I think that the problem is that for a long time we had mostly, and especially that's, I've got to say, especially in the south of England, now that I've got the experience and not as well, um, we've been, for a lot of people of the generation before ours, cask beer was uh, lazy, not very well done brewed beer, um, with like all English ingredients, cheese. I mean, I'm not saying anything against it, but for example, we don't ever use English hops actually for a start. For example, you obviously can make good beer with English hops. I never had one. Doesn't mean that that it's not that the option. But I think that for a long time, cask has been sort of like left behind because all the craft breweries, especially down south, they want to do keg because that's what they sell, because that's what is cool, and because on cask your margins are way, smaller. So
Yeah,
and also because again you send a cask out, you don't know how it's going to be served
sure.
because it takes so much. So it's for a long time I think that cask has been, Dunbar for a lot of
Yeah,
people. That was cask. So it's hard to sort of like tell people, listen, that's not, you need to try this. Trust me, you don't like it because you haven't tried the good thing. And now it is coming back. But I remember the Jukes had this, this group of kids, 18, 19-year-old, they would spend all night on the spoons because obviously it's cheaper. And then they would come to the Jukes because it was the latest one in the area, and they would just smash pints of Marble Pint or Truck Sonoma or Amazon on cask and loving it. And they would go for cask because it was obviously cheaper. But this is a new generation that at least that they know these beers now. They have
yeah,
access to it. It's relatively good access to it. They probably 30 years ago it wasn't that easy, especially in the south of England.
absolutely. No, I think the same. I received the same fascination, which was coming from having a look at that corner that no one really pay attention of, but then not being necessarily hyper branded or hyper colors or silly names. Everything was genuine. So I feel like I think I'm gonna try something in here, see what is going on, and then I don't mind to say that I love beers like the Plum Porter from Titanic rather than ESB from Fuller's. So yes, absolutely, and definitely more interest in outside London than in London itself somehow, and probably that's the proof that even breweries like you guys or even Cloudwater made, old ale, bitters, milds, and beers like that, which I love.
Those are great, but even better for me because it's the style that I like the most in terms of how many units a day or week I drink of. A good pale ale or an IPA on cask, like a Lagonda or something even more hazy on cask. There are
Yeah,
so many breweries up north that are doing that style of beer that for us it's mostly something that is supposed to be in keg. And
yeah,
for me, the return of the bitter does not. It's good, but it's good only if allow if because it also because it pushes the fact that there's actually not cask is not just for good bitters. Cask is also for good pale ales and IPAs. So hopefully that will sort of like push a lot of more breweries in London or those areas. So like, hey, I'm making a really great pale ale. Why don't I put it on cask?
yeah,
Example, Pale Fire by Pressure Drop. I would love to have that one on cask. It tastes so great on keg. I bet it would taste amazing on cask. Mill Pinto, they did it a couple of times for the Jukes to put it on cask. It was really fucking amazing as well. Um, so yeah, I'm happy for the return of the bitter, but even more happy if that pushes the fact that you don't have to just pull a one-off bitter, so to tick your boxes. They've done that. It works. Trust me, put your pale ales and IPAs and hazy stuff as well on cask. It will work too. Just like Lagon down cask, it's
and
absolutely amazing, and we sell a lot.
let me put it this way, Mars. I love the fact that you're so knowledgeable to speak about not just the beer itself, not just about from a pub point of view, but generally speaking, from the culture point of view as well. And how did you find yourself having this type of conversation in London and in Manchester, maybe surrounded by an audience which is composed mostly by male or guys anyway? How did you find having this kind of conversation so far?
I've actually, I feel like I've been relatively lucky, to be honest. I think that again, if you're lucky enough to work in a good pub, you've got you can be lucky enough to have the holy trinity: the good pub, a good beer, and a good pub with good people. So it's actually, I never had massive problems. Of course, I had usually. There would be an old camera guy is sort of like, oh, love, we don't know what you're talking about. This beer is not good. Like, it's good, trust me. Or, that happens. That happens everywhere. But I also think that it's mostly attached to a certain generation, obviously. That hopefully, I had no problems with, our generation, for example. I feel like I've been pretty lucky on that, to be honest. Yeah, you always have the guy there. I remember when I was managing the pub, but not only because I'm a woman, also because in fairness, it's also the way I show myself. Like, people are like, "You're not the manager here. Come on, you." Trust me. I am the manager. I know I don't look like one, but I am. But yeah, no. To be honest, I've been, like I said, this industry. You have highs and lows. And you have moments when you're like, oh God, I hate people. But they're like very short moments. So far, this industry, to be honest, has never let me down, really.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty happy about it.
You mentioned before the fact that you've been, communicating and you've been drinking with friends in Manchester. Then you probably haven't met yet, and you will meet when you're going to be able to go to pubs again. And when you were in London, were you doing the similar things? Like, did you have like a group of friends from the industry, and then you spending time with them, you sharing info, you doing events? How does it work?
No. God, no, I was a pub manager. I was living in that pub, basically. I feel like the first few years I was going out, I was going to visit other pubs. And then, no, I became a recluse, basically. Like, it was like I was chained to that bar. And I loved those chains. So when I wasn't off, if I wasn't at home, I would go to my pub, and drink. And my regulars were my friends. And they were not craft beer people. They would come to the pub because the one thing that I loved is that most of the people I had to deal with in terms of regulars, they were not craft beer geeks. They loved the pub. They loved us. They loved the beer. But I had 8 cask lines and 10 keg lines, and apart from the lager, there was the sort of like it was always the same one, permanent line. Everything else was changing like every week.
Yeah.
So what I loved was the fact that they would come in, and there were people from all different social backgrounds and history, blah blah. And they would come to me even if I wasn't working. I might have been there on the table just drinking with some other people. They're like, "Oh, you know what I like? What should I have?" Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I felt like a sommelier or something. Like, I have no training or no certifications, but I was like, you know what? Yes, I know what you like. I know what you like, and I know you're gonna like one of these two. And at the same time, it will give me the chance to like, but also try a bit of this. You might like it. And I had people that hated sours, and after months of like try this, you know what? I actually start to like it. Yes.
That's a win.
Yeah, it's like,
absolutely.
Well done, Lars.
Well, I love the fact that you said, we're all looking for having the pubs reopen again, and this is probably, hopefully, going to happen, in not too long time. And Did you manage to do some plans for Marble for when the pubs are reopening, and what's the vibe?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of planning going on. It's been quite hectic these days. Um, it's exciting because we've got lots of plans. So first of all, we're going to reopen the arch in May because we have a space outside, but it's not that big.
Right.
And also we decided to renovate that beer garden, and it's gonna. I mean, I saw the architect's like sketches, and it looks, oh my god, they look so amazing. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be a good summer. And the arch, like in lockdown, they managed to renovate the kitchen as well. So it's all a new kitchen, everything new, like beautiful and shiny. So that's going on at the arch, which is it's even better for me because I'm gonna be working mostly at the tap room. So for me, going at the arch would be like, I'm here to use my staff discount, sit and have a pint and a Sunday
There
roast,
we
please,
go.
thank you. Um, yes, exactly. The tap room we have, we're going to open the week of the 12th of April. She's like, it's quite soon now. She's got like lots of stuff to do, but we have quite a big yard. There is now is full of empty casks, but
Yeah,
those
for
casks are
sure.
gonna
Yeah.
be, yeah, but those casks are going to be filled soon, which makes me very very happy. And we used it last summer. We used that yard last summer as well because it wasn't off, but we're now planning to do something a bit more permanent, looking nice. And a pizza oven. Obviously,
Yeah.
they told me
Yes.
the Italian from Naples perfect. You're gonna make Napolitan pizza now. All right, yes, I like it. Yeah, I've been spending like days just sort of like checking suppliers and all, and just looking at this. Mozzarella di bufala. Spianata. Yes, perfect.
So it's happening. It's
It's
not just
happening. It's
like,
happening. It's happening. It's
ooh.
happening. And I've got weeks ahead of like lots of stuff to do, but yeah, really excited. Yeah, but by the time we're going to be open, I'm gonna be like drained of any energies, but I'm going to be so excited. I am
I'm
already.
sure about. Yeah, and like, do you think now? I'm not going to ask you technical question from a brewery point of view, but do you see turning almost like immediately to the same percentage between cans and bottles to kegs and cask, like 50-50 rather than 80-20? How's it going to look like, the percentage in your opinion?
Yeah, not the faintest, but I do think. Oh wait, okay, I do think that obviously cask and keg are going to pick up quite steadily from, I suppose, from the first week of April. I also hope it's going to pick up a lot fast, to be honest, because compared to the online orders, because I need a packaging area for my pizza oven for a start.
There we go. Yeah, for
So, yeah,
sure.
come on, guys.
Make some
Uh,
noise.
yeah, no, yeah, it's there's a little bit of that. We never dealt so much online orders before lockdown, and now it's obviously like 80% is all, yeah, that's what I do. Most of my days I spend them canning and packing stuff for the couriers. Um, but yeah, no, I think, well, I can tell you one thing that I put my hopes in, at least. It's going to be the year of cask.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
going
yeah.
to be the year of cask, and that
100%.
makes me really really happy.
I absolutely believe the same, and I think people are gonna drink everything in cask then they can find. Blonde ale rather than Belgian double or triple. Anything you can chuck in the cask, it will work.
I can't wait for it, to be honest. I can't wait.
I love this, and we've been speaking before the show, and there is a question that you told me. When am I gonna answer to that? But then I'm gonna ask you now. I'm really sorry about it, and it was a
Come
very
on.
very simple. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The,
Go
the
for it. Go for it.
the fact that you have experience from a pub point of view, and like a pub manager, and you also working in a brewery, and how these things works. my question was basically, what kind of essential advices would you give to, these people, both breweries, both pubs? But then you said, you can say it now,
Yeah, I said, I mean, what can I tell to anybody? I mean, we've been first of all, we've been incredibly lucky that we installed the canning line right before lockdown. That pretty much saved us, pretty much.
Yeah.
All like what I said before, the only thing that I can say is if you're a small independent business in this industry, help each other, help each other. The one thing uh, that we did, which is very small, but I think it worked well and it was nice when we were able to open the tap room during summer. Every weekend we tried to have a brewery to come over with a leader machine, and just pour that, just sell your beer in our yard alongside. So it gives us the chance to give more options to our customers. And use lots of breweries don't have tap rooms or pubs or they can't do it. So you know what? That help each other. That's all I can say. Help each other, because at the end of the day, if there's only one definition that I want to, use that I like for craft beer is yes, more independent, help each other. Everything else, I really care. I love beer, but I care very little about the technicalities of. You're never gonna look at me talking about yeast. That's not, that's not gonna happen. Unless I'm very drunk and I again don't know what I'm talking about and pretending I do. Champions as well, but there you go.
Yeah, I try to use the same way. Like when you don't know much about something, or when you know more about other things, just talk about more the other things that you know well. So
Yeah,
it
don't
saves
talk
you
about
many
weight.
times.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always closing these interviews with a main question, and the reason is very simple. I try to stay within 40 minutes, as you probably know, and I don't want to go further than that, and also because this question is really important. How do you see the future of our industry? How do you see the future of the drinking industry in general? And do you think these new elements that we started to deal with, drinking from home, Zoom drinking, live streams, ordering beer at home, will stay or will completely, change for going back to the pub?
I mean, that's the thing that you can take out of this experience is that people are always going to try to connect with other people with any meanings and in any ways. I've never done these things before. Um, I I'm not even big in going to events because it's always like, oh, I really want to go, and then on the day, oh, I really want to stay home or just stay to the pub. I'm that kind of person. Like I really want to go until the day happens, and I found myself buying tickets for online events. Like just because you need something to do. People want to go to the pub not because of the beer, but because of people. Don't if you can say it's because of the beer, but it's not, because you have access to that beer, and you can say, oh, but it's because cask beer. Yes, okay, but I don't really care that much going to the pub and have a cask beer myself. I want to go there because I want to get drunk and start talking with the poor bartender that's trying to do his job, or or with the guy sitting on the stool next to me, or people want to do that. One thing that I think it might change in positive is that this situation stressed everyone a lot, and we've been very very lucky to have customers that obey to the rules, and we're very very lovely because that means that we every time that we were working on the arch this summer or the tap room, everything is slower. Everything is slower for because all the things that you've got to do in for health safety, obviously, healthy measures and blah blah. Uh, and people were just very very patient, and they will just be happy to be there, and very supportive. I think table service. It's a thing that might stick a little bit, and I don't mind because it's actually also a chance to sort of have a chat with people that are not sitting at the bar for a start.
Yeah.
And also the fact that people are happy to wait. Now they've been very happy to wait for a pint to be poured properly, instead of like, oh, I ordered my pint 5 seconds ago. What is it? I think that it's a situation that stressed us a lot, but actually took us to the best of us, sort of like highlighting the best of us. At least my customers here have been absolutely amazing.
It's a really wishful vision for the future, and it's a really, hopeful type of look at it. And again, yes, probably people are gonna tip more. People are probably going to appreciate the fact that you are there with gloves, mask, and maybe like a plastic surface in front of you, jumping up and down tables and bars for 10 hours.
Having a packet of Monster Munch and then wearing a mask for 9 hours is not. It's honestly, that's the most uncomfortable I've been in my life.
Yeah, I understand. Oh man. Oh, I think the 40 minutes hit hard in here. Let's see a couple of seconds if Mars is still here. If not, I'm gonna close it, but let's see. Well, let me put it this way, guys. We have managed to go into the 40 minutes, and we have managed to cover most of our topic in here. So what we'll have to do is thank you on Mars, behalf as well, and I wish you a beautiful rest of the evening. And I hope you're gonna be safe. I hope you're gonna have beautiful food tonight. And please watch us tomorrow as well. We're gonna be with Exhale from North London. And please, if you see these kind of beers around, just take it because it's amazing. And we're gonna say, there we go.
My laptop just decided to go into an update without telling me anything.
No.
It just turned itself off. like because that probably was like on the full screen. It just decided to go without telling me anything. And
Well, what I was doing is I was actually closing up for a very simple reason, and we're close to 40 minutes. But it would have been very bad without having, your salute as well. So, Mars, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabs. Thanks for doing this. It was quite fun. I hope I didn't embarrass myself too much.
You have been fantastic. You've been super, super, super cool. And I'm sure many people enjoy it because we have lots of people commenting and watching as well. And many people are going to watch it again soon. So we're all in a good place. And thank you very much again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys, to watch us. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.